Art is an explosion. This iconic line, as Naruto fans must know that this is the famous words of Deidara. Explosion, a more magnificent explosion. When a character focuses on only one thing in his life, he must be extremely attractive. Deidara's frank character, smart brain, and usually funny and cute character, despite his few appearances, left a deep impression on us. Deidara was a ninja of Land of Earth Iwagakure and a close disciple of the Third Tsuchikage Onoki. His attitude towards his mentor is rebellious but respectful. I guess he had a good time in Iwagakure. He is also one of the few characters in Akatsuki who did not have a cloudy early experience. This also makes him the most optimistic and purest person in the Akatsuki. His reasons for joining Akatsuki also fit his style. He felt that these guys are all skilled artists and it would be cool to join them. The first person in Akatsuki who brought him to his knees was Itachi Uchiha. Deidara was visiting a temple at the time. Itachi, Sasori, and Kisame approached him and invited him to join Akatsuki to fill Orochimaru's vacancy. Deidara, who can't even obey Tsuchikage, is not going to obey these strange people, and he is very busy making his art appreciated by the surrounding countries. At this point, Itachi offered to fight him, and if Itachi won, Deidara would join Akatsuki. Deidara, as a young man, will not back down from such provocations, and he is confident in his art. His ability is to mix his chakra with detonating clay to create a variety of detonating clay men, which are incredibly powerful and lifelike. I mean in terms of flexibility. With his clever brain, he can play an amazing battle. Deidara first threw a clay to attract Itachi's attention, then let the clay centipede sneak into the underground to attack Itachi before any action. Deidara has taken control of Itachi. He was excited to detonate. Itachi said, "Let's take a look at yourself first." Deidara discovered that the clay centipede was wrapped around his body. It turns out that he was hit by Sharingan's genjutsu at the beginning of the battle, and if he hadn't been warned by Itachi, he would have almost exploded himself. Itachi stood in the afterglow of the setting sun, looking like a god. Deidara was mesmerized. This is art. But while he admires Itachi for it, he is also filled with resentment. Although Itachi's art is superior to his, he must defeat Itachi in the future. Deidara replaced Orochimaru and became Sasori's partner. Sasori is a puppet modeler, and he is a clay modeler. People who play with model toys will gather together and get along well naturally. Their first mission is to recover Orochimaru, who betrayed the organization. This battle was delayed by Orochimaru with reanimation jutsu and pursued by Deidara with detonating clay, blowing up Orochimaru's lair, but of course, Orochimaru escaped easily. Afterward, Sasori and Deidara were assigned the task of capturing the one-tail Shukaku. Although Itachi and Kisame had appeared before, they did not fight at full strength, and Deidara can be said to represent Akatsuki for the first time. Relying on a spy laid by Sasori, they walk into Sunagakure easily, where he then persuades Sasori to watch the battle while Deidara takes on Gaara alone. In fact, this battle has many disadvantages for him. His detonating clay is divided into C1 C4 according to its power, and the final arcane CO self-destruct, because of the need to capture Jinchuriki alive, so he can't use the deadly clay bombs. The regular level of explosion cannot break Gaara's absolute defense. Gaara only needs to stay in the eggshell, control the sand to fight. Deidara can only run around. However, Deidara has shown a high level of combat intelligence and ruthless tactics. He soon discovered through testing that among a large amount of sand, only one wisp of sand was extremely fast, and this amount was the same as the gap in Gaara's shield of sand. So Deidara was deliberately caught by this sand and lost an arm, and at the same time mixed with a tiny clay spider. Deidara took out C3, a powerful large-scale bomb, and threw it at the Sunagakure below. He didn't want to destroy the village. Instead, he wants Gaara to reveal its flaws. Gaara spends a lot of chakra and energy using all the sand to protect the whole village. Deidara found an opportunity. A small clay bird flew to Gaara. The absolute defense immediately launched. Those mixed with the sand of the clay spider also used. After using his remaining power to remove the sand above the village, Gaara was seriously injured by the explosion and lost consciousness. Although Deidara didn't win easily, he kept the initiative in the battle, and he won with tact and ruthlessness. After capturing Gaara, Sasori and Deidara take him to Akatsuki's temporary base, extract Shukaku from Gaara's body. As the extraction is completed, the rescue team arrives, and among them is the nine-tailed Jinchuriki Naruto. Sasori and Deidara have a new mission: to capture the nine-tail. In the face of the rumored strongest tail beast, Deidara is eager to try. At this point, Naruto rushed up in anger and demanded Gaara's return. Deidara has a bright idea and flies away with Gaara. Sure enough, Naruto was attracted to the past, and Sasori was stopped by Sakura and Chiyoba. but when he saw Kakashi following him, he felt a bit tricky, as Sharingan Kakashi's name is still very famous. So he said, Master Sasori is even stronger than me, just a little girl and an old woman like that are no match for him. It seems that Deidara is also very strong in trolling his teammates. Naruto and Kakashi are unable to fly, and Deidara has the advantage, but Kakashi also has a Mangekyo Sharingan. Luckily, Kakashi was not yet skilled and the first time Kamui missed and only tore off Deidara's arm. However, after the battle with Gaara, Deidara lost both of his arms and was unable to use even ninjutsu, so he was ready to retreat. The Guy teams also arrived, and Deidara couldn't escape against Konoha's strongest taijutsu ninja. He had to swallow the detonating clay. Art is an explosion. Deidara blew himself up. Kakashi using Kamui again and moved the entire explosion to Obito's house. After that, he lost consciousness. By the cover of the explosion, Deidara dived into the ground and escaped. It is a self-destructing clone. But even so, his own art was interrupted before it started, and again, Sharingan, his partner, Sasori, also died in this battle. He finds the arm he lost in battle and asks Kakuzu to sew it back on, and forms a partnership with Tobi, a newcomer to the Akatsuki. This Tobi is a fool, even more foolish than Deidara, so Deidara has changed from an artistic duo to a funny duo. But Tobi has another identity, the boss behind Akatsuki, Obito. After forming a partnership with Tobi, they first captured the Three Tails in the wild. The Three Tail without Jinchuriki control is very weak, is basically a wild sea turtle. By this time, Deidara had already captured two-tailed beasts. Akatsuki also soon receives new information. Orochimaru has been killed by Sasuke Uchiha, and Naruto is looking for Sasuke. Deidara is very excited. On one side is the Naruto team that made him suffer last time, and the other side is the first to kill Orochimaru, Itachi's brother, Sasuke. Both sides have a grudge against him. Deidara and Tobi immediately set out. Deidara first found Sasuke, who by then was already strong and had trained with Orochimaru for 3 years, mastering the Heaven's Curse Mark and Chidori Stream. However, the level of Cage level has not yet been reached. However, Sasuke's Chidori Stream is completely restrained by Deidara, the Earth style is restrained by Lightning style, and detonating clay characteristics will not be able to explode after the power. It can be said that Deidara's worst enemy is not Itachi but Sasuke. Deidara was offended to see Sasuke's arrogant look. Sure enough, it's the younger brother of Itachi. You are just an arrogant guy with a strong pedigree. When Sasuke heard the opponent mention Itachi, he immediately rushed up and cut Tobi down with a single slash. When Sasuke thought he had successfully dealt with an enemy, Tobi stood back up again. With this level of attack, he didn't need to hide. The original confident Sasuke finally felt bad. This is the Akatsuki where Itachi is. It is really not simple. Deidara plans to test Sasuke's strength with a C1 level clay first. But Sasuke's Chidori Senbon hit him all, and Deidara released 2 more weird clay aliens. He soon discovered that the 2 clays were not only physically strong but also kept splitting after being attacked. Deidara continues to use C2 Dragon. C2 can fire powerful projectiles, and the landmines buried underneath the ground by Tobi, formation of land and airstrikes. Sasuke avoided the fire from the air but stepped on a mine, and although he immediately activated the cursed seal into the air, he was still wounded in one leg. Sasuke tries to fly into the air, but Deidara immediately fires a cannonball. Sasuke could only use his wings to defend himself, and as a result, his left wing was blown up and his means of the flight was lost. However, during the explosion, Sasuke thrust the knife wrapped around Chidori into the ground, forming a foothold, and then attacked the enemy with a shuriken. Deidara easily avoided the shuriken, while Sasuke stepped on the hilt of the knife he had just inserted and leaped at Deidara, using the extended Chidori sharp spear to cut off the wings of the C2 dragon. The shuriken, which was previously avoided by Deidara, was again rotated under the control of Sasuke, pinning him to the falling clay. Deidara almost falls into a minefield and is killed by his own art. Deidara's defeat was foreshadowed at this moment, as he took off his clothes, and it was a rule that Akatsuki would die with the clothes off. And just now Sasuke has already confirmed Deidara's weakness. Sasuke knows that Chidori can make his opponent's bombs go silent. At this time, Deidara recalled the scene of losing to Itachi and felt extremely angry, so he uses the C4 Karura. Deidara ate a lot of clay to create a huge Deidara. Seeing such size and scale, Sasuke also panicked, and if it exploded directly, his Chidori could not stop it. In order not to affect his teammates, Deidara didn't detonate immediately, but let Tobi escape first. Deidara detonated the huge Deidara, but the expected nuclear explosion didn't occur. As it turns out, this will release a ball of tiny bombs that will get into the bloodstream for anyone who inhales them. The explosion of the mini-bomb disintegrated the victim's body at the cellular level. Deidara smiled, and the pupils of his left eye suddenly contracted sharply. Sasuke appeared behind him and Chidori penetrated his body. Sasuke's Sharingan can pass chakra color, clearly see the normal people can't see C4. Since he can see it, it is easy to avoid it. After all, the enemy's position is certainly safe. Deidara smiled again, thanks to Itachi. Sasuke realized that this is a clay clone, and he was also trapped by this clone. Deidara has been training his left eye since he lost to Itachi, and finally mastered the way to resist Sharingan. Deidara bores out of the clay and launches C4 at close range. Through Sharingan, Sasuke even saw his own body covered with bombs. Sadly, Deidara was disappointed once again. Sasuke aimed Chidori at himself and stopped the explosion, although he was bruised by electricity. Sasuke was wounded by his own Chidori, and chakra was so depleted that even Sharingan couldn't maintain it, but this was taken as contempt in the eyes of Deidara. Let's show you my ultimate art. Deidara ripped off his shirt and fed detonating clay into his chest. He was going to use the highest level of explosion, CO ultimate art. All the power is concentrated in one point, and even the body becomes transparent. Katsu. Deidara becomes art himself, with an unprecedented explosion that reaps unprecedented admiration. Then, everything turned into light. Art is an explosion. The giant Patrick Star appeared. Red, and everyone witnessed the unprecedented explosion. But Sasuke summoned Orochimaru's strongest summon Manda at the last moment, used Sharingan to temporarily control it, hide into its body, and reverse summon to Manda's lair. Although the moment before the space jump, he was still hit by the explosion of airflow, Manda was killed and Sasuke was seriously injured. This battle Deidara really aggravated. His bombs were restrained by Chidori. Nanoscale C4 was clearly seen by Sharingan. CO self-destructed was dodged by the space jump. Partner Toby can easily subdue the enemy but didn't fight. Finally, Deidara revealed that he was feeling guilty for affecting Toby, unaware that Toby had already been hiding in Kamui's space and enjoy the tea. But Deidara, who has been pursuing art all his life, doesn't care about that either, because his phrase art is an explosion has already attracted us deeply.